I'm Leon Taylor with McNairy.info.com website, and I'm here today in the office of Sheriff Guy Buck, and I'm glad to be here. I appreciate you, Sheriff, allow me the opportunity to come into your office and talk with you, and I want to, I come so you can kind of let McNairy counties know how the state of being as far as the sheriff's department is concerned. First of all, Guy Buck, tell us who Guy Buck is and how this is your second term here, and give us some perspective of where you are at right now.
Okay. Well, obviously I am Guy Buck. I'm the sheriff here in McNairy County and have been so since 2010. Very blessed and very thankful to serve the community, to serve the people of McNairy County. And also thankful for you, Mr. Taylor, for taking your time and your talent and coming out here and sharing this with the community. We have talked informally about the service that you're providing, and there are a lot of people who they don't get out to the meetings. Yeah. They don't participate in the public forums. But everybody today's got the internet, and making these videos available for the public for free to be able to get to know their elected officials, to get to know what's going on in the community. It's a great service.
Yeah, I think so, and I think and I do appreciate you taking the time out to let me come in.
Oh yeah, but who am I? I'm Guy Buck. I was born in Memphis. I was raised in Henderson County. Relocated here in 2000. Had worked basically in public service my whole life. And in 2010, I felt a calling. I felt a need that the county was. We were missing opportunities, and maybe we weren't serving the community as good as I thought we could have. And I ran for sheriff in 2010. Was blessed to be elected, and we've worked as hard as we could, and we've made as many changes as we could during the basically 6 years I've been in office to make this a professional organization, to make it an accountable, a transparent organization. Our goal was quite frankly to train the deputies, to give them the tools and the training to be able to do their jobs better, to make sure that the people in this community were getting the service that they could get, that they would expect to get anywhere else. Okay. One of the big problems that I had, one of the big motivators I had for running for office was I'd worked here. I'd worked in Selmer, and I'd worked here as a deputy before I ran, and I just didn't want to accept the idea that we can't do it here, or that we don't do it here. And it always just rubbed me wrong that why, if we can't do it here, why? And if we don't do it here, why? And so when I got elected, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we can do it here, and we're going to do it here, and we're going to do it as good as anywhere else. One of the big things that we focused on right off the bat was training. We wanted to make sure that our deputies had not only the knowledge but the tools to be able to do their job. We focused really hard on investigative skills, and in doing so, in the first 4 years, we reduced property crime over 50%.
Well, that's great.
It was astronomical. It wasn't planned. I mean, we never would have dreamed it'd been that good. But what we found out is that if you actually investigate a crime, sometimes you'll solve it. If you don't investigate it, then you never will. But we used tools that hadn't been used. We started utilizing DNA technology. Of course, we processed our crime scenes. Or we try to do them in a professional way so that people felt a lot of confidence in our office. And in doing so, we were able to get a lot of cold hits on DNA, even property crime cases or burglaries where somebody may have just left touch DNA or may have cut themselves and left a little bit of blood. One of our first good cases like that was early on. We had a gentleman that was incarcerated in Alabama who had broken into a house up in Lakewood. We'd never even heard of him. He wasn't from here, didn't have any connections here, but his DNA didn't lie. When his blood was on the scene, we were able to arrest him almost a year after the crime. And that's just an example, of what we've done. But the whole point of the training and the whole point of being professional, the whole point of being transparent is that we wanted to raise the expectations of the people in the community where they know that they're getting their money's worth.
Well, let me ask you, how many deputies, how many employees up under your?
Total employees, we have 39.
39.
Now, that includes myself, and so there's 17 certified deputies, including myself. We have 17 certified jailers. So, and then the other 5 employees are either clerical, part-time, or maintenance. So, you know, we're not a big department. I mean, and a lot of people don't realize that when you try to take 17 people and spread them out over 572 square miles, and 27,000 or 26,000 people, it doesn't, you know, it's
run thin.
It runs real thin. It runs real thin. Most offices that service an area the size of ours would have on average about 10 more deputies. But McNairy County, we've never had that. We've never had that number, and of course we fight every year to try to get one more, you know, when we can. But with the current state of affairs as far as our budget goes, that's not something that's even worth the fight right now.
But it is my understanding that but your department has to have a certain amount.
Well, one of the things that you're speaking about is maintenance of effort. They don't say what the number is you have to have, but what happens is the county can't cut the sheriff's manpower, and that's, I don't even know where that came from, Mr. Taylor. I don't know how it ever happened. Of course, we're proud that they can't. But you know, you wouldn't want people to threaten the safety of the citizens over money, and a lot of times that's what happens. I mean, if you cut, and I don't want anybody ever to lose their job, but if you cut a secretary from an office somewhere, the odds of it affecting somebody's safety is not as high as if you take a deputy off the road. Or if you even take a jailer out of the, one of our correction officers out of the jail. People don't realize that we only have 17 jailers, and we manage a population of basically 100 people a day. So at any time, we have 4 people in the day and 3 people at night in the jail. You take 3 people managing 100 people at night. It's a stretch. It's definitely a stretch.
And I guess the bottom line with every department in the county is resources. And the budget, it takes money to have these things. I mean, we usually want Cadillac service. But
you're exactly right. You know, I'm glad you said that, Mr. Taylor. But you know, we haven't fought as hard for people maybe as we could have. You know, there are avenues where we could have maybe even fought harder for people. But what I've already said is we were able to reduce crime. And in doing so, it's hard for me to go into a county commission and say, you know what, we've reduced crime 50%, but I need more people. Because I've done it with what we've got. You know what I mean? Now, can we provide a better service? Oh, yes, sir. Could we reduce response times? Yes, sir. There's no doubt we could. And don't get me wrong, we need more people. But I haven't felt it. I haven't felt it was the fight that I needed to fight, because we have been able to affect those positive changes. Now, we fought really hard for the jail because I didn't think it was a safe condition back there with the number of employees that we had originally. I didn't think it was safe, and the state said it wasn't safe. So we fought last year. The state made us get a few more employees, or they weren't going to certify the jail. And you said we want Cadillac service with, I guess, Chevrolet prices. I don't blame anybody for that. You know, I don't blame anybody. People in McNairy County get a good deal. They really do. And I'm not speaking about the sheriff's office. I'm speaking about they get a good deal. We have a great community where people can live for a very modest amount of money comfortably. We don't have to put our, I don't know if you're aware, Mr. Taylor, I know you're not from here originally, but we've got one private, very small private Christian school in Bethel Springs. Very, very small school. We don't have private schools in McNairy County, and the reason is because we've got a great public school system. And if you took the school system that we provide for our children with our tax dollars, I think it compares to any private school system that you would get in any of the surrounding counties. Madison County is full of I mean, it's got a private school in every corner because their school system is not what the people want. So we get a great service in that. Our crime rate's low. Our property, the price to buy into our community is low. But we have a lot of people who leave every day and go to work. And then they come back here to reap the benefits of the low cost of living.
Yeah, and I was able to talk, speaking of the school department, I was able to talk to Mr. Wayne Henry last week, and he seemed very optimistic and very positive about the school systems and his role as director of school.
Well, he should be. One of the things that we should be proud of in this community is our school system. What kept me here, I'm not from here. I always make the joke that I say that I wasn't born here, but I got here as soon as I could. And I guess there's some truth to that, but I had no plan to be in McNairy County, but in 2000...
Me neither.
Well, in 2000, life, it brought me here. But when we got here, one of the main motivators to staying here was our school system. We knew, my wife and I had been around, the state, and we knew that we couldn't compare the school system privately to what we got publicly here. That was one of our big, our big motivators. Of course, the people too are just, it is a good place to live.
Yeah.
But that said, what you said earlier is that, a lot of people want a lot of things, and they don't realize that with services comes cost.
Yes.
You're not going to get that Cadillac service if you don't pay for it. And I think the people in the county have said, right now they're happy with what they got.
Well, if you reduce crime rate 50%, that's a plus. But like you said, you did it with what you had.
Right.
And
right.
It's hard to fight a fight.
It is, and then also, my chief deputy and I, we discuss strategies all the time. We discuss, what is our plan to make it better. And quite frankly, I don't know where I can go at this point. If you gave me an unlimited budget with unlimited people, well, yeah, we can provide a whole lot better service. Our response times be better. We utilize technology to produce reports better. There's a lot of things that we could do.
Speaking of technology, there's been a thing all around the country about officers with body cams. Do our officers?
We started wearing body cams here probably 3 years ago.
Okay.
We started on a voluntary basis, and what I mean by voluntary basis was we didn't have a mandatory use policy yet 3 years ago.
Okay.
We gave it to the deputies, and we said if you're in a situation where you think you need to record it, then you need to record it.
Okay.
If it's of evidentiary value where that you could utilize it in like a DUI or even a disorderly case where we gave it to the officers to protect themselves.
But their own option.
Originally,
Okay.
yes, sir. And then what has happened though is over that 3 year period, we bought into better cameras and stuff, and now we have a mandatory use policy where everything that our deputies is recorded. Everything that our deputies do during the day is recorded.
Oh, great. And I guess that's ahead of some.
You know what's
departments.
great? Oh, I'm gonna tell you. Well, it may be, but I'm gonna tell you the best thing about it is because an officer is not gonna. He shouldn't. He knows he's been recorded.
Yeah.
He should act professional,
Yeah.
which we hope they do anyway. But then it curbs those complaints, because if somebody complains and it's legitimate, well, we've got the proof to prove that our officer may have acted wrong. But what makes me feel good is when I say, well, Mr. Taylor, let me go look at the video of that and I'll get right back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And when we review it and we call them back, their story changed very quickly. They may not have remembered things the way it actually happened. So it's always nice to be able to show that our officers did act appropriately and did act professionally. So.
Yeah. Well, are you pretty, I know with the limited staff that you have, are you pretty happy with the staff you have now and the job that you're doing here now?
Again, I would love to have more, but but the officers that we have are here because they want to be here, Mr. Taylor. You may have heard in some of the meetings and things that, our salaries are low.
Yeah.
We fight for them. We fight for raises all the time, but our salaries are low, and the only thing that keeps good employees here is their desire to be here.
Yeah. I think when I was talking to Mayor Brooks yesterday, he said some of our officers will make $11 an hour, put their lives on the line.
Yeah, a lot of them start out a lot less than that. They do start out a lot less than that. Our officers start out at $24,700 a year for a deputy. As compared to Madison County, either with the sheriff's office or the police department, they're going to start in the mid-40s.
Okay.
So
it's not a high
what
paying
keeps somebody
job.
here for half of the money? And it's just commitment to the county. They like where they're at, or this is where they want to be. Because I can assure you that I don't have a deputy here that if they wanted to go somewhere else, couldn't go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the original question you asked is, am I proud of them? I'm extremely proud of them. I mean, they don't have to be here. And they are a representation of me. Every one of those guys that go out there every day, I tell them, you know, when you open your mouth, that's me. And I hear it every day. The sheriff came out here and said that. Well, I didn't go anywhere near it, but the public just assumes that that's who it is, you know.
Well, let me ask this. Is there anything that you really, really wanted to do that you hadn't been able to accomplish as of yet?
You know, we would love to see the embracement of technology a little bit more into the department, but those things, those tools, they come with a big price tag. One of the projects that we're undertaking now, though, is crime mapping, and what I mean by that is this year our big focus this budget year is to focus our resources into being able to not necessarily predict crime, but to be able to show crime patterns.
Okay.
And we're investing in that technology to be able to just kind of like what you would expect in a big department. If I want to see how many burglaries happen, I ought to be able to push a button.
Well, is there any kind of, does the state do any kind of monitoring of that?
Well, you know, there's everybody in the world that they track statistics all day long. But what I want to see is a real live, I want to see if in January, where did I have burglaries? Or where did I have just thefts or larcenies?
Okay.
Where are we getting more DUIs? Because we can focus our efforts on those areas. Because is it because of the bars in that area, or is it because, who knows, you know?
Yeah.
But even though sometimes we know the answers to these questions,
Yeah.
but it's really great when you can go into a community. I go to Mickey and say, all right, this is exactly how many, because they may have a misconception. Everybody thinks that crime's bad in their areas.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks, oh, crime is just running rampant right here in Raymer, or right here in Mickey, or right here in Finger. They think that it's bad for them. But when you can go to a community and you can say, well, Finger, this is how many burglars you've had. Wait, but let me show you. This is how many Mickey's had. This is how many Raymers had, and you know, so that that misconception goes away.
Maybe if one areas think they're not getting the service,
exactly,
that they need, you have some to show them that, you know.
Right, and you know, another thing too is that, you know, a lot of times that's just education, you know, where you're actually talking to the community. But when you can show them that it's no worse in their community than it is somewhere else. And on any given time, you know, we may have 4 deputies at a good time. We've got 4 deputies in service. It's a big county. It's a real big county. And our call volume, when they see the amount of requests for service that we do during the day, there's not a lot of time. You know, we get the requests all the time. But we've got speeders up and down the road. And as politically correct as I can, I'll say, you know, when we're available, we will be there and we will give you the attention that we can. But understand that we have to answer those calls for service first. And then when they see those on a map and they see how much that we do, it helps me be able to sell our service a little bit better.
Well, one other thing that came up, and I guess I'm just asking a question. I mean, I'm learning as I talk to different county officials. But one thing that I didn't know, and I'm sure maybe some other people don't know, that the jail, the medical it comes out of our county budget, so that can be very costly at times, I imagine.
You know, there's not a. I don't know if you've ever met Sheriff Lee.
No.
He used to be the sheriff here. He was here for 12 years, but he gave me the best advice that I ever got whenever I took office. He said, "Guy, when you think everything's going right," he said, "and everything's going perfect," he said, "the jail's this far away from chaos." So there's not a sheriff in Tennessee that wouldn't give the jail up if they could, because it's a huge liability on the county, not just from possible lawsuits and stuff, But the thing that you spoke of more than anything else is the medical.
Yeah.
When I took office, we had a nurse that came here. I think she came about once a week basically, and it was a nurse practitioner. She came in and she just was basically checking the inmates out to make sure they weren't going to die. And then if we had a medical emergency, we shipped them to the ER. We paid the bill. Well, right off the bat, I knew that was a bad system.
Yeah.
So we went out and we solicited to get a healthcare company, a correctional healthcare company that contracts with our county. We have a nurse that's here 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and she's able to actually do assessments on the inmates, and then more importantly, she identifies the ones that maybe don't need to be in jail. On top of that, the ones that have to be in jail, she's able to take care of in our chronic care clinics. If they're diabetics, if they have high blood pressure, if they have heart disease, then we're able to monitor those inmates a little bit closer. Now, what you spoke of is that we pay a service for that.
Okay.
Now, we pay money to have that oversight over our medical, but that money doesn't cover them when something bad happens.
Okay.
So when they have to go to that emergency room, or when they have to, if they have, God forbid, a heart attack or a stroke or anything like that, or a broken bone more commonly, that comes out. That's not something that you can budget for.
Okay.
There's just no way to budget for it. Now, if they are not a sentenced inmate, then the county has to pay for that, and we don't get reimbursed for it. If you have TennCare or you have Medicare, when you come into jail, those paying entities, they stop. When you come into jail, if I take you over to the hospital, then or to a hospital, they're not going to pay the bill. The county's going to pay the bill.
So, and it's pretty much always been like that?
Oh yeah, it's always been like that.
Okay.
And the other thing is we're not just responsible for our inmates. We're responsible for the inmates that Selmer arrests and the Adamsville arrest, and that the Highway Patrol arrest. So so all of those inmates, right? Anything that happens in this county, we're responsible for. But now there is a mechanism. If they're a sentenced inmate, we can get reimbursed on those if they're a state inmate. And one of the things that a lot of people in the county don't understand too, is that this jail is and I spoke to Mayor Brooks about it yesterday, it's the second largest revenue source for the county. People worry about what it costs to operate it, but we are the second largest revenue source for the county.
Okay.
So on the state inmates, we get $37 a day reimbursement on those inmates, and we generate between $450,000 and $500,000 a year from the state to house those state inmates.
Okay.
Those are the inmates that if they have a medical issue, we can get reimbursed from it.
Okay. Okay.
But let me explain one thing,
Okay.
Mr. Tyler, is that even if we get a reimbursement for it, what'll happen is, say they have a $50,000 bill, and in the medical world that's not a big bill.
No.
We're going to pay that bill, okay? And it's going to make us look like we went over in our budget. I couldn't have predicted that, and there's nothing I can do to change that. But it's going to show that we had a $50,000 overage in our budget. Now, what the people don't sometimes understand is that we are going to get reimbursed for that, and there's an amendment that will take place that'll cover all of that. But people can't understand the way the county finances work. That reimbursement doesn't just go back into the sheriff's office to wipe that out.
Yeah.
It goes back into the general fund,
Yeah.
and then between the bookkeepers and stuff, it all gets worked out. So people sometimes are if they want to hit me up on a medical, I'll argue with them all day long that we save the county more money today on medical than we ever have in the past, just by being preventative in our care.
Okay. Well, that's great. What's your vision for where you want to see this department go in the next?
Well, I don't know that there's one thing that I'll say that I want to see change or I want to see happen. I would love to see us be able to be as professional as we can be. One of the taglines I guess that I used from the very beginning was, I wanted us to set an example for any department of our size in the state. Now I can't compare with Shelby County, and I can't compare even with Madison County. Their budgets, there's just no way to compare with them. But I want to say that if you take a county that's servicing a population the size of ours, I want us to be the example that people look at, and I think that we've done that. We offer training to agencies all over the state, and they come into us because we have already proven that from either whether it's processing a crime scene or whether it's our firearms training program or whatever it is that we're doing, I want us to be as good as we can be, and we will always do that as long as I'm the sheriff. I promise the people of the county that within the budget that we have, within the number of people that we have, we're going to provide the best service that we can every day.
Yeah, well, that's all you can. That's all
right.
you do. You got to work within your means, and
Right.
And if you can get, like I guess like you called a while ago, McNairy County is getting a good deal.
Oh, I think so. I've said that all along, and how do you ever convince anybody of that? Nobody wants to pay more, and I understand that. But when you're getting a good deal, sometimes you got to sit back and go, you know what, we are getting a real good deal.
Well, sometimes in that good deal, because people have a passion to do it and to get it done, it's hard to ask for more.
Yeah.
Because you've given.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can make you feel a little unappreciated to yourself, but that's just the way things are.
Right.
I thank God that people do come into. If you have a passion for what you do, it said that you never really, if your work is your passion, you never work a day in your life.
If you enjoy your job,
Yeah.
You'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, because it's what you do anyway.
Yeah, I tell everybody that if you get into law enforcement, I'm talking about at 21 or 20, whenever it is you get into it, you're not doing it for money. If you work for the highest paid agency in the state, you're not doing it for money because you're underpaid.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you're getting paid, you're underpaid, and you're generally unappreciated.
Yeah, and really, literally, guys, they put their life on the line
Every day. Today more so than ever, Mr. Tyler. Last year, statistically, there were more acts of violence, and now don't get me wrong, we can track the number of officers that were killed very easily, but tracking that number of violence, those violent acts against officers, it's just increasing all the time. We're blessed again. We police a very, I don't want to say polite, but we've got a good group. We've got a good citizenry that we provide service for, and here in McNairy County, we don't have a lot of problems that other agencies may deal with in Memphis or Jackson or whatnot. But don't think that we've got that umbrella over us that keeps us from having those problems. We're just fortunate that they're not as frequent.
Well, how's the communication with the Selma Police Department, the Adamsville Police Department? Do y'all have a way of, y'all have a good working relationship with?
Yeah, I hope they say so, because I say we do, and I hope they say so too. Us in the Selma Police Department, we share officers on our drug unit, so they're investigators for the city. They're also investigators for the county. They work together every day. We work together not just on the drug cases, but on any kind of a major case. We're very tight-knit with them. Adamsville is a much smaller agency. They don't have an officer. They're welcome to participate with us. They just don't have the staffing to participate with us. But we help them with any investigation that they ask for. Sometimes we don't know about it, but if they ask us, we'll always help them.
Well, that's great. That's great. Sheriff, I thank you for just sharing.
Hey, I thank you, Mr. Tyler. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. You asked me to take time out of my day, but I know that you're not getting paid for this, so I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to offer the service.
And I, and eventually somebody will see it. And I think, one thing, of course, that I believe in, if people can put a face with a position, a personality with that position, sometimes it gives them a different perspective.
Well, you're welcome to come visit me anytime you want to.
Well, thank you for your time, guy, and I know McNairy County. Thank you for keeping the crime rate down with what you had to work with there.
Well, anytime that you want to come visit, you come by and we'll sit down and we'll have a chat anytime you want to.
Thank you much. Have a blessed day here.
Thank you.